5 tools that make aquarium maintenance easy. In this video, I'll show you a handful of simple tools that take the frustration out of cleaning and upkeep. These are tools that I've used for many years, and I couldn't imagine keeping my tanks without them. They save time, solve problems, and make your aquarium routine so much smoother. If you've been in this hobby for a while, then you know that bristle brushes are a must. These little guys have saved me so much time over the years. They are simple, they are cheap, and they do way more than just one job. I use them to clean out my skimmer, to get into lily pipes, and to scrub the inside of filter hoses. Basically, all those places where debris and biofilm builds up and is almost impossible to reach otherwise. But where these brushes really shine is with algae, specifically hair algae. Normally, if your tank has a serious hair algae problem, it can be a real nightmare. You try pulling it by hand and it breaks apart, making an even bigger mess. But with a bristle brush, it's actually manageable. All you do is spin the brush around the algae and it starts wrapping itself around the bristles. And the more you spin, the more it keeps wrapping, because a lot of these algae strands are connected to each other. Instead of fighting with little bits floating everywhere, you are gathering it all in one spot, and it comes out in clumps. That one trick makes cleaning a tank that's been overtaken by algae so much easier than it would be otherwise. And once you see how effective it is, you'll start reaching for the brush more often, not just for algae, but for almost every annoying spot that's hard to clean. It's not a fancy or expensive tool, but if you keep aquariums long enough, you'll realize it's one of the most useful things you can have around. If you have a planted tank, stainless steel scissors aren't optional. They are pretty much mandatory. Without them, things get out of hand really quickly, especially if you keep a lot of stem plants. Stems grow fast, and trimming becomes part of your routine, whether you like it or not. For most tanks, you're trimming every other week. Sometimes it can be less often, depending on how overgrown you like your aquariums. Over time, I've tried all kinds of scissors, and I keep coming back to 2 features that make trimming so much easier. You want the scissors to be curved and to be on the longer side of the spectrum. The curved scissors, in my opinion, are just better for trimming stems. The angle works with the plant, not against it. You can get a cleaner cut without fighting the scissors into awkward positions. And the reason I prefer them to be on the long side of the spectrum, it's first of all because you can get to more plants without having to reach so much into the tank. But even better than that, they give you control. I use the side of the scissor blade to gently push stems apart on the water, just enough to see the ones I actually want to cut. Since the plants are on the water, the stems don't spring right back up instantly. It takes a few seconds, and that's plenty of time for me to snip exactly the stems I was aiming for, without cutting the wrong ones by accident. And that's not theory, that's just experience from trimming stem plants every single week to ship out to you guys from my shop. If you've ever struggled with trimming or felt like you made more of a mess than progress, the right scissors make all the difference. If you're finding the video valuable, remember to like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow and get to more people who love this hobby. The spot vacuum is a tool that I made out of necessity. It's amazing for 2 things in particular: algae and moss. If you've ever had an algae problem and couldn't quite figure out the root cause, you know how exhausting it can be to clean it by hand week after week. A tool like this makes that job so much simpler. It really shines with slimy types of algae, like cyanobacteria, or anything that forms a layer over plants and substrate. Instead of scraping and smearing it everywhere, the vacuum just pulls it straight out, and you're done. No mess, no spreading, just clean. And if you've ever worked with moss, you know how tricky it can be. Trimming moss is fine, but all those little cuttings sink straight to the bottom. If you leave them there, they rot and can easily turn into algae problems later. With a spot vacuum, you can suck up every little piece from the substrate right after trimming. It's one of the easiest ways to keep your moss clean without adding a bunch of extra work. And the best part is this, it doesn't remove water from the tank. You can do your cleanup without having to do a water change at the same time. That makes it perfect for little touch-ups during the week when you just want things to look fresh. If you want to try one, you'll only find them in my shop. There's a regular size for standard tanks and a mini version that's perfect for nano tanks. I'll drop the link in the description if you want to check them out. A wire brush might not look like an aquarium tool, but if you've ever dealt with green dust algae or green spot algae, you'll understand why I keep one around. These two types of algae love to cover hardscape, rocks, wood, anything with a rough surface. And once they've taken hold, they don't come off easily with a sponge or your fingers. That's where the wire brush shines. You can scrub those spots clean without needing chemicals or special treatments. It's fast, it's direct, and it saves you a ton of frustration when you're trying to keep your aquascape looking sharp. But there's a trick to using it right. You don't want to go in with a ton of force when you're scrubbing your hardscape. I've done that before, and trust me, it's not a nice surprise when you realize you pushed too hard and now you broke the glue that was holding your hardscape together. Instead, the key is repetition, not pressure. Brush the same spot lightly, over and over, and you'll notice the algae comes off just as well without damaging anything underneath. This little detail makes all the difference because you get rid of the algae but keep your hardscape intact. It's definitely a tool that feels kind of old school, but in practice, it does a better job than most aquarium-specific products I've tried. If you've ever struggled with green dust or green spot algae on rocks, a simple wire brush can turn what feels like a big headache into a quick, easy fix. A toothbrush might seem too simple to count as an aquarium tool, but oh man, it's one of the most useful little things you can keep around. I mainly use it for cleaning algae off the edges of the aquarium glass, right where the silicone seals are. That area can be really tricky because algae loves to grow there, and most people just go in with an algae scraper to get it off. The problem is, scrapers aren't designed for silicone. If you push too far or scrape at the wrong angle, you can actually dig under the silicone and weaken it, and over time, that kind of damage can turn into leaks. Nobody wants to deal with a leaking aquarium just because of cleaning in the wrong spot. That's where the toothbrush comes in. The bristles are strong enough to scrub off algae, but soft enough to avoid damaging the silicone. You can get right up to the edges, clean them completely, and not worry about ruining your seals. Plus, toothbrushes are cheap and easy to replace, so you can keep a couple around and swap them out whenever they get worn down. It's not fancy, it's not expensive, but it solves a really annoying problem in a safe way. Sometimes the simplest tool is the smartest choice, and the toothbrush is definitely one of those cases. Those were 5 tools that make aquarium maintenance much easier for me, and I couldn't imagine keeping tanks without them. Let me know in the comments what tools you relied on, or if there's one you think I should try it out.